So do you want to talk about buildings?
Sure.
Got some pretty exciting stuff coming up. Everything is currently released at War Machine Weekend, which is pretty cool. Just gonna clear this off a bit.
Do you want to talk about like building setup and stuff like that?
Oh, maybe. I don't think that is a bad idea. I'll just put those there. So, if you go on the Reddit, there's a super handy post that has a imager link to all the rules of these new buildings.
Okay.
So Shelly will be able to follow along, and all you guys at home and on YouTube and Twitch can follow along as well. Monpoc.net also has all of the updated stats as well, which is super great. So it has all the units, all the buildings. It's got everything you need, because on top of the power plant, communications array, corporate HQ, what else released? The skyscraper,
industrial complex,
and the high rise, Terracon, Spikadon, Carnodon, Raptix, and Spikadon. I already said Spikadon.
You're missing
whatever. Brontox got released along with
Martians.
Why don't you list them?
Martians, including the Ares Mothership, Hunter, Saucer, Power Pod, and the Vanguards.
Wow. Sounds pretty cool.
They have less variety. Or no, same variety of units, I guess.
Yeah, they should have the same. Just about. So do you want to talk about monsters or buildings first? If we do monsters, then we'll do units.
Let's do buildings first.
All right. Buildings it is. So we don't care about the apartment building.
Yeah, that's old news.
Of these buildings, except for the skyscraper, are defense 6, which is the skyscraper's defense 7.
And that compares now to apartment buildings, which are defense 5.
Yep. So the one I am most excited for, I'm really excited for about half of them, but the one I'm most excited for is the communications array. So I'm really excited to take communications array, which gives any model not affected by radar +1 range to any of their blast attacks. So I'm really excited.
So that would give Defender X range 4.
Yeah.
Right.
And it would also give Zormax in range 4.
That's pretty good. And what about your units?
So the G-Tanks would go up to range 6, which is really good.
Wow.
The great thing about that is that it lets them sit like here and here, right? You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
They can reach pretty far.
So then if I'm holding either one of these spots, you'd be able to reach.
Yeah. Or if you're holding like this PowerPoint, I could spawn and reach it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome. I can't quite hit this one, but at range 4, I can go like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can be like all the way back here with like a strike fighter or a chopper. And Terracon, when we get to him, his alpha form will actually have a range 6 blast.
That's really good.
So he's range 5 in alpha.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
And the other notable thing about the communications array is that it's incombustible.
Yep.
So it doesn't turn into fire.
Yep.
Which right now we've been playing with apartment buildings the whole time, and they have by default turn into fire.
Yep. So they'll start automatically on this side of the hazard board, the hazard tile.
Yeah, that's the communications array.
Yep. And this is only one of 2 buildings that does this, but I think the other one is going to be pretty popular. So I think these squares especially are going to get a lot less dangerous. you'll probably end up taking, on average, like 1 less damage getting thrown into these spots.
Yeah.
Because there's probably going to be like a power plant or a communications array in one of them.
See, I'm not sure if the communications array are really going to show up in these spots.
Yeah.
Because they're mostly going to be...
in these ones.
In the back, yeah.
You'll have a communications array here.
Yeah.
And maybe even a power plant as well.
Yeah.
Depending on what kind of power base you want to build. So why don't we talk about the power plant? We'll skip ahead a little bit. It has the most rules out of all the buildings. Defense 6, it was said, has blast radius. So when you kill it, so let's say this was say we're securing this building, right? So we have our normal setup of 2 G-tanks here, and our shinobi is here. So if someone does like a SWAT or shot into this building, then this power plant would die, and any adjacent units to it also die. But you get a lot of benefits for having it. You get a incombustible building, which is great to be thrown into. You get a power producer, which is an extra P die for securing it. It doesn't stack, so if you have 2 power plants secured, that's only 3 dice, not 4. So that's really important to remember. And then it also has electrical node, which is if a mechanical monster, like our boy Defender X, brawls it, then he heals a point. So this could put him back into alpha form if you really wanted to for some reason, or it can change the damage curve if he's in hyper form and you need to get
that extra edge.
Like that beat back later in the game if you know you're going to be able to stand maybe like over here or something, brawl it.
Yeah. And power plants have traditionally been pretty good for Martians as well.
But they don't... Then they have an extra... Well, that was because they were immune to the hazard. If they
also got
and before,
heal.
Yeah.
And they get heal again.
Oh, sure.
On this because Ares is mechanical.
Yeah.
And then also with the stack. So with Martians, we'll get into this a little bit more later, but the power pod has amplify.
Yeah.
So if you're on a building, if you're securing a building, you get, or a PowerPoint, you get an extra P die with the power pod. So then if you're securing the power plant plus the power pod, and you have the power pod on PowerPoint, get a good amount of extra P dice.
Oh yeah, for sure. You get 4 just from that, right?
Yeah.
Not bad.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Because that's a lot less that you would have to invest in
3 units.
Like other.
That's 3 white dice for 4 P dice, which is a phenomenal return if you are one of the guys that's like super into the EV of your white dice. The next building I want to go over is the downtown high-rise. So again, this is defense 6. It has the high occupancy rule, which is if a non-mechanical monster brawls it, they heal a point. So that is your beefy guys like Cthulhu and Gorgadra, and your fragile guys like Zor Maxim. Cthulhu probably gets a little extra benefit out of the heal, because if he is in his hyper form, let's say he has 5, right?
Yeah.
Someone messed up and threw him when he was at 8, right? He walks over to it, brawls it, goes up to 6, and then let's say you put a meat slave here, right? You can then sacrifice the meat slave.
And heal again.
Putting you up to 7, which is a really big swing in the health pool.
Yeah. Because that could be almost an entire turn of damage depending on how you're playing.
Yeah. Especially, like, that wipes out getting thrown into a hazard or anything like that, which is really phenomenal. The other rule they have is security building, which is anyone adjacent to them, any unit adjacent to the downtown high-rise while you're securing it gets an additional boost die on any guns and melee attacks that they make. So I think this is going to be a really common setup.
Having them towards the middle?
Yeah, you have something like this, and then you could have downtown high-rise. Yeah. Downtown high-rise, so you have these really good firing platforms into the middle of the field. So that is what I would be looking to disrupt. I think placing...
I think definitely for destroyers, because of the way your, like with protectors and guard especially, the way your B-dice already stack. Mm-hmm. I think having the downtown high-rise, it's going to be really imperative that your power base gets disrupted early on.
Yeah.
Just between all the potential power dice that you can gain for the power plant and the boost on the array. Mm-hmm. Like that can give you a really significant advantage.
That's why, even though we're buying all these like resin buildings, right? You aren't going to be buying the full 12 because you'll still want to run 1 to 2 apartment buildings, so that when your opponent is like, all right, I put down my nuclear reactor, and you're like, okay, apartment building. Yeah. So you're ready to go with that apartment building so that they don't get their ultimate setup.
Power base. And we are going to go through, like once buildings come out, we're going to go through our building placement on stream as well.
Yeah, since we're going to do something with like index cards this weekend, we'll draft them on screen. I think that's it for downtown high-rise. So their placement is much more important because these are going to be your firing points from where you want to affect the rest of the board. So like on this map, these 3 spots are really important.
Yeah.
On Destruction Junction, it'll be a little bit different. Because again, the map you choose is like an important part of your force. So you're going to have different strategies for different maps, and you'll be able to do better depending on which map you are on. So next is the corporate HQ. We have a corporate HQ.
Oh yeah, you already have one.
Yeah,
You don't need to buy the Privateer Press building.
Yeah, I don't need to buy mine. Pretty cool.
Can I just have it?
No.
Oh.
If you beat me at the tournament, you could have it.
Oh yeah, I did not beat you at the tournament.
Yeah. But you tried. You did good. You were in the finals. So this building, again, is defense 6. It has intel, which removes cloak while you're securing it from all of your enemy's models. And it has trade policy, which effectively turns it into a negative zone. So right now, I wouldn't really recommend running more than 1. Unless you're up against a lot of cloak, I don't think it's a very high...
Yeah. I mean, with your list currently, I feel like you're still playing mostly guard units with like a splash of Shadow Sun.
Yeah.
I feel like if I were up against someone, or like if you started playing like way more Shadow Sun, I would probably maybe do 2. I don't really think that more than 1 is totally necessary because you do need to be securing it in order to get the benefits.
Yeah.
So that is something that you're going to want to have on your back line.
Mm-hmm. And it's much easier for protector players to have that like 1 of utility building, right? Because I have this repair truck. So especially with these guys around, because whenever one of them dies, it's going to leave a rebel behind. Unless you disintegrated it, I'm going to be able to just pop up. Make it right back up.
So you think you're going to be using your repair truck more?
I think so, yeah.
I'll have to disintegrate buildings then.
Yeah, and in the mirror match, you can do something crazy, right? So like if they have a building that you don't want them to get back, you could break it.
Can you repair it into a different building?
You could either repair it and put a different building there, or once you break it, you have a rebel tile ready to go, right? And you just build it into whatever it is. So you could deny your opponent building that way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you do put a crappy apartment building somewhere, Like, if I put one on your side and you don't like it,
mm-hmm.
and then I accidentally get thrown into it or something, you can then repair it into something better later.
Yeah.
Think you're going to be doing that?
I don't know. We'll see. We have a lot of cool options. But like I was saying, I don't think this is a high priority secure for the most part. The trade policy rule is okay, but usually you don't see a lot of fighting over these negative spaces. So maybe that's something we need to adapt and do more of.
Yeah. Well, it can be... I think in 2 monster games, we probably should be making a bigger deal out of it because, I mean, when power dice are scarce, is what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're trying to do 2 monster with each monster doing a power attack, and you're denied a power die because of that, I think that can make a difference. I think it just depends on how this securing the buildings works out. Because if you have, like, a ton of power dice, it's not necessarily going to matter that much.
Also, I feel like putting a unit here is just easy P dice for your opponent. Which is why I've kind of been a little more hesitant to grab, like, this PowerPoint and this PowerPoint lately.
Well, you know, for you could put a Shinobi there. And that would prevent shooting from long distance.
You can still brawl it, though, is part of the problem. I guess that is a tough spot to get to brawl.
Because of the...
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. If you can walk 5, you can brawl without getting into any rough terrain at all.
Yeah.
Right? And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is a little far, but not that far. But I think that's something to keep in mind for sure. If you could have this and this taking 2 P dice, that's a lot.
That's a much bigger deal.
As long as you can get your monster turns to where they're before their monster turns, and you're able to take those P dice every time you power up, that is big.
Yeah.
Especially if you can also wreak havoc with their power base.
Yeah. So I think that is one strategy that maybe we should be exploring a little bit more.
I think it'll be a little more viable once buildings come out.
Yeah, definitely.
So next up, we have the the industrial complex. This is a pretty simple building. It's defense 6, turns into fire when it explodes.
Yeah.
And when you're securing, it gives all your models +1 speed.
Yeah.
It's relevant, I think, that it gives your monsters +1 speed.
Yeah, so it's all allied models. Yeah. So monsters and units.
Yeah.
I think that would be good for destroyers because it feels like most destroyers are a little bit slower on the whole than protectors. So I think that would be good. Again, like that could be something that you put in your 2 slot here and then just hold it for most of the game. There's a lot of different combos that you could do.
Yeah, I think most of your ranged units are range 5 already, right?
Yeah.
So you could potentially skip out on the communications array. Maybe you put it like over here if you have one so that you can secure it if you need it.
Yeah.
But otherwise
I mean, the thing with the communications array that would help is that Gorgadra's range would be increased.
Yeah.
I think that would be the main reason. Or the main reason for it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as high of a priority as the speed, honestly. Especially because, like, the way that you've been playing is having most of your units hang in the back. So it's more important for me to get units across the board, generally.
Yeah. Also, I have the tanks, right, who need to aim to get the most out of their B dice. So the +1 range is more important to me than the +1 speed. The last building is the skyscraper. So this is defense 7, and it has discount. So if you're securing it, you can spawn a model for 1 less.
And how many models does that apply to? Just 1?
Just 1. And it doesn't stack as well. I'm not super excited for this building. I think it's okay. I think it's reasonable to have 1 in your list. But I wouldn't have more than 1. I wish it kept Spire. I think that would be really cool. But I guess I don't know if it ever had Spire. But I feel like it should. Because it's so tall and like so ominous. Like I feel like it should do a lot of damage when you hit it.
Well, I wonder if one way to play the skyscraper would be not necessarily to put it in your base. I mean, I know that's what the discount is really meant for, but because the defense is so high...
Just something that won't get rammed easily?
Something that won't get rammed easily, something that can't be disintegrated easily.
Okay.
So, like, I mean, what I'm thinking, I mean, this obviously would help you more, is that, because I tend to try and use Gorgadra and disintegrate buildings for some fairly easy P-dice. And I think having a couple of skyscrapers around could prevent that as a strategy moving forward.
That's definitely true. I hadn't thought of that. Let's see. So if we're defense 7, you get 4 B dice when you shoot. If you only want to spend 1 white die, you have to spend 3 P dice just to get it to 60%.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's much riskier than the apartment buildings.
To make it a reasonable shot and hit an 80%, you're looking at 3 white dice, 4 B dice, and 3 P dice, which is a big investment. What do you usually do when you want to shoot an apartment?
Usually, I'll either do 2 P dice, 3 white dice, 4 blue dice.
Okay, and that's a 96%.
Yeah.
Almost 97.
Yeah.
So you can see you have a pretty decent drop in accuracy there. Yeah. And you're forced to add more dice.
So I think if you're playing Gorgadra, I think you definitely, and you have the skyscrapers, I think you do want to keep that in mind with your building placement. Just because that is one strategy that I use for destroyers as far as cycling those P dice through.
Absolutely. So those are our sweet new buildings. I do have a concrete list of what I plan on buying. Shelly doesn't. We're going to work through that.
I need to work on that.
Right now, I am looking at 3 downtown high-rises, a communications array, 3 power plants, 2 industrial complexes, a skyscraper, a corporate HQ, in my apartment building. The skyscraper could become another power plant or downtown high-rise. I wouldn't hate it if all 4 of my buildings were downtown high-rises. The industrial complexes, I'm not sure. That could be another thing as well. So you definitely have a lot of flexibility when building your building list.
Wow. So clever.
So clever.
Yeah, I think I just need to think about... Because I could see myself kind of going for, like, 1 of each.
And then, would you want to play more apartments so that they're easier for you to destroy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think... I just kind of want to see, maybe when we test tomorrow, how the 2 spots, especially like these, will turn out. Because that'll probably inform, like, I might want to get some extra power plants or something just to kind of make these spots a little less dangerous.
It's funny that both players want those spots to be less dangerous, right?
Yeah.
But both players, of course, would like to utilize them.
Yeah.
At their full damage. So let's take a look at... You want to do Martians?
Yes, let's do Martians.
Right, we'll do Martians first. So, their monster is obviously Ares Mothership.
The Mothership.
The Martian Menace. She's a pretty respectable speed at 7. I mean, it's more than pretty respectable.
Yeah, no, that's going to be the fastest speed of the destroyers.
Yeah, and she has a solid defense of 8. And she has 11 health, which is cool. She does have 11, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we are looking at 6 plus 3 boost dice for a brawl, that's okay. Not phenomenal. Maybe not even good. She really only wants to be brawling units, I think, for manufacture. And then she has a range 3, 6 white dice, 4 boost dice, which is pretty okay. I'd say that's pretty par for the course. And then she has a 5 plus 4 power attack, which is fine. 4 boost dice is where you want to be in your alpha form, right? 3 boost dice on power attack is probably like the worst 3 stat you could ask for.
Yeah.
On your alpha form. But she has a duct 4, which means she can spend a white die and just bloop any adjacent enemy unit with defense 4 or less back to the reserves. So this means it stops meat crawlers, which is pretty cool. Or meat slaves, rather. Not
meat crawlers?
Meat crawlers. I mean, it also does stop crawlers. They're def 4. So she has a cool potential turn with high manufacture brawl, right? Where you could kill something, manufacture a Martian unit, cargo out a Martian unit, a power pod is your only option currently, and then she could abduct something. So she can kill 2 units, place 2 units. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see.
It's 3 white dice, but I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. But also, like, it could be used to help screen. Yeah. Or, like, if the mothership is, like, on the other side of the board, it's a way to get units on the other side of the board. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, also, I'm wondering, like, especially for disrupting your power base, I think that might be a good option to explore.
Yeah, so, again, like we were talking, where if you potentially want to hold these places, right? Like this negative zone. She can come up and she can brawl this fairly safely. Replace him in there. And then next turn, he can just walk on over.
Yeah. Well, or even there. Like if the mothership is like over here, can abduct one of your units off of one building.
Oh, sure. I mean, at that point, though, you're already like standing next to it and turning them off.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But she has a couple more rules. She is mechanical, which is cool. So she can attack power plants, just like in the last edition, to heal. Yeah. And she is steady. So if you want a body slam her, you lose all your B dice.
Yeah.
Which is...
So I think that can be good.
It's a downgrade, right? Because in the last edition, she was literally immune to body slams. Yeah. But that was probably too strong.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it so you have to invest a lot more red dice, right?
Yeah. Or you can also throw her. Yeah. But it gives you more places where you can stand. Because sometimes it'll be worth you getting body slam just to suck up that many P dice from your opponent.
And then, I mean, like, there'll be certain instances where, like, depending on where you slam, or where you stand, a body slam is clearly the best option. But then you would have to make the choice whether to, like, downgrade to a different damage. Yeah. Or take the chance on the body slam.
Yeah, a great example of that is, like, if you're here, right? Yeah. And so now... Maybe if this was Gorgadra in alpha form, right? Maybe I have 6 red dice, right? Yeah. And so normally, like 6 red dice, 4 B dice, and some number of white dice, that's usually pretty good against Gorgadra. That should get the job done. Yeah. And we get it, no problem. But you take out these dice, do our roll. And this is way worse. Yeah. We have only 5 hits now. Yeah. So we need like 2 more.
Yeah, you'd have to make it up with the red dice.
Yeah, you might need 2 to 3 more red dice to replace what you're losing.
And that sucks up a lot of resources, especially if you're trying to do do 2 power attacks with your monsters on the same turn.
Oh, I don't think you'll really be able to body slam unless you're doing a double body slam. Double building body slam with like Gorgadra or something where you get 6 back. It'll be really hard to body slam and
do something else
with your other monster. Yeah. Really tough. And I think that's a resiliency that right now is a little underrated. So she changes a little in her hyper form. She maintains speed 7, def 8. She gains a boost die on her brawl. She gains a boost die on her blast, which is great. Goes up to range 5. And her power attack stays the same, which is fine. And she has 5 health in her hyper form, so she has 6 on the front of her card. She retains flight, retains high mobility, Gains hit and run blast, which lets you move 3 spaces after you hit something with your gun, and gives that to all of her Martian units, which is cool.
That's pretty good, actually.
And then she keeps Manufacture Brawl. She keeps Mechanical, obviously. She keeps Steady, which is phenomenal to keep in your hyper form.
Yeah.
And she gains Spotter, which is cool. It's interesting that she loses Abduct.
Yeah. But I feel like that's in line with kind of how they've been tweaking the rules for things.
They always take something away, right?
Yeah, because like it's like with Cthulhu, it's like you have the heal ability in your alpha form, and then when you go into hyper form, you can no longer heal.
Actually, does Gorgadra lose anything? I don't think Defender X loses anything. So maybe that is just a design space that they settled on for the second and third wave of monsters.
Yeah.
Which I think is good.
Yeah, I mean, it helps to change up the strategies with how you use the monster in the different phases.
Yeah. She loses Abduct and Transport. Which, so she loses the ability to build and break screens in hyperform, but that's okay, I guess.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to experiment with hit and run.
Yeah. Hit and run plus a range 5, potentially range 6 gun is cool.
Yeah.
Just is.
That might also be able to help. Now that's only Martian units would only get hit and run.
Speaking of
because I think that could really I was just gonna say I think that could really balance out some of the slowness that I kind of feel with Planet Eaters.
Well, you're gonna have the oil refinery.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean that might not even be necessary.
Alright, so next up we have the Hunter. This is a unit that is defense 2, speed 6, cannot brawl, and is range 5, and it has 2 white dice and 2 B dice for its gun.
Actually, none of the Martian units can brawl.
None of the Martian units brawl. They hate brawling.
They're not brawlers.
And this guy's cost 2, but wow, does it have a lot of rules. So it has flight, high mobility, has a lone wolf, which is actually a negative. It cannot combine blast attacks, but considering it's a 2-star 2.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and it has penetrator blast, so anything it shoots is -1 defense.
Yeah.
So it has pretty good odds of killing one of these guys out in the open.
Yeah.
And it has phenomenal odds of killing anything defense 3 or lower.
So I wonder, like, with the Hunters, if that would be something that you could manufacture or
it's definitely
use in conjunction with the Mothership's other rules in order to kind of negate the downside of cost 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a little bit similar to how I've kind of been playing Cthulhu with Taskmaster. Because you can summon... Taskmaster's also cost 2, but you can summon for 1 and kind of negate that.
Next up is the Power Pod. It is speed 2, cost 1, def 2. It has all-terrain amplify, which is if you have 1 or more amplify guys on one of these points, then you get an extra B die.
Yep.
And it is cargo, so a saucer or a mothership can plop it down.
Yeah.
These guys are probably not going to run more than 2, maybe not more than 1. 2, I think, is okay, because like being able to build that screen at will is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And we like that. But this unit is pretty simple in its applications. It sits on a point.
Yeah.
Or it stops you from getting power attacked, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's all the unit needs to do to be good, and it does that.
And it definitely helps you get those extra power dice.
Yeah.
So it can make building a power base a bit easier.
So next up is the Saucer. This is a speed 5, defense 2, no attacks at all, cost 1. It has abduct 2, so you can spend that white die to kill anything defense 2 or less. You don't get a power die for abduct, but the Saucer can turn off meat slaves, which is cool.
Oh, that is pretty good.
Yeah, so
We're doing the mirror match.
They're not destroyed, they're just sent back to the reserves. It has transport, so I can put that in power pods, and then it has flight and high mobility. This is a useful unit. Abduct is cool, If someone is like standing next to you contesting your PowerPoint with something like
you can just abduct them.
Fly a strike fighter or something in there, you just go, nope, not rolling it. Don't need to. Although strike fighters are so easy to kill, you might want to roll for the P die. Next up is the Vanguard. This is a speed 6, defense 1, range 3 that has a 1-star 1 attack, and it's cost 1.
And the Elite has 1-star 2.
Yep.
And is cost 2.
And then all of the units have Destabilizer, which is they get an additional boost die against buildings, which is cool. They have Disintegrate on their guns, Flight and High Mobility, and then the Elite obviously has Commander on top of all that.
Yeah.
This is a unit that is not getting a lot of love right now on the internet, but I really like it because you can see so often, right? Especially on this map. Like, I might come up, I might stay in here, right? If you can Disintegrate this on like a unit turn.
Yeah.
We're looking pretty good. That forces me to react like immediately.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't have another screen set up.
Yeah. And then also with buildings, like if you end up depending on certain buildings for different things, I think it could be a really good option to just Disintegrate them.
Yeah.
And then also like similar to how Gorgadra has been played, you can also Disintegrate some of the 2 squares to make them less dangerous.
If you manage to Disintegrate one of these buildings, right, where we're building our super awesome power base, then I have to knock down another building, right? I have to like knock something here down, and then flip it over, and then rebuild.
Yeah,
which is
and
so much
I
more
think
work.
that's gonna be a big deal because with the neutral spawn point, it'll be pretty easy, especially with the speed 6 and flight.
Yeah,
they can just go straight back that way and either go after a building, contest the building, or go after a unit, or do both. Like stand next to one building, shoot the other one.
So if your opponent doesn't have any units here and they've placed that downtown high-rise, right, so that can be their firing point, then you have a nice little spot you can stand in where you're going to get even more B dice.
Yeah.
So you're going to be looking at each one rolling 3, 4 B dice, depending on if you want to summon your Elite or not.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome. I think a lot of people are missing that right now. Next up, we have Terrasaurs.
Yeah.
Which is sweet.
Do you think people are just missing that because they're hung up on short range and low defense?
I think people are hung up on the low defense.
Yeah.
Because they are viewing them as like easy P dice in return, but there's a value beyond how much a die is worth. There's value to removing certain abilities from your opponent's force. There is value to forcing your opponent to come over to another area and deal with units that they might not have wanted to.
I think it might just be an issue in that Destroyer players aren't used to having defense 1 things, whereas
maybe.
you have all your little planes that are defense 1.
Yeah.
So I feel like as a Protectors player, you just have more experience on like how to handle that kind of unit.
Yeah.
And how to make like the most effective use out of them.
The defense 1 units, you have to know when to use them.
Yeah.
For sure. Because they are easy P dice for your opponent, but you can offer them up at points when it may not matter as much.
Yeah. And I think that's just something that people will have to get adjusted to.
Yeah. So next up, we have the Terrasaurs with Terracon. So this is a cool dude. He is speed 6 in his alpha form.
Terracon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Def 8. He has an 8-star 4 brawl attack, which is fine. Like, 8's a high number, but you're never going to roll 8 weight dice on a brawl.
Yeah, no. The same as Gorgadra.
Yep. He is range 5, 5-star 3. Star 3 kind of sucks, but you'll see why that's honestly probably necessary. And then he has a 6-star 4 power attack, which is okay. And he has 11 health. He has 6 on the front. So he has Munch Brawl. So if he punches a unit, he heals a point, which is really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
He has Stampede, which gives all your Terrasaur units +1 speed.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It's not a like within 2 spaces like motivator on the tax monster.
Yeah,
it's just a buff.
And then with that, you like if you have Terracon, you might not even necessarily need a oil refinery.
Or you could have both.
Yeah.
You could make your Carnodons like speed 6.
Oh god,
which is pretty fast.
They would get so fast.
And then his probably best rule on the front of his card is Feeding Frenzy. If the opponent's monster is next to a Terrasaur unit, an allied Terrasaur unit, all of Terracon's attacks deal super damage to it. So this means his range 5 gun can do super damage.
If you have a unit next to the...
Yep, in his alpha form. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that's unique because that's really the only rule, I believe, that gives a monster 2 damage in its alpha form.
Yeah, so far, yep. And then if you're playing someone like Zor Maxim, you could teleport a Terrasaur unit right next to a monster. Which is pretty cool.
Interesting strategy.
Yeah.
So it'll have to force your opponent to deal with the shadow gates.
Yeah,
even more quickly.
Yep. He gets even better in his hyper form, where he goes up to speed 8, retains his defense 8, gains 2 boost dice in his brawl, loses 2 range but gains a boost die in his gun, and goes up to 5 boost die on power attacks. He gains Blood Rage, which gives all Terrasaur units an extra B die, which is cool.
That's pretty good.
He gains Explosion on his blast, retains Feeding Frenzy, so for that super damage, and gains Lightning Attack, which is like Rapid Fire, but for melee attacks. So he can do 2 punches a turn, he can do a punch, a power attack punch.
And can you explain how that works with Feeding Frenzy?
Sure. It just does. So if you have... This is my Terracon. And this is my elite, let's say. Here's what we're going to do. We got Terracon moving up. We got Zor Maxim moving up. We got a Shadowgate back here with my elite Carnodon. And teleports him. This guy is flank.
Yeah.
So we punch you. Deal super damage.
Because of Feeding Frenzy.
Punch you again. Deal super damage. And then maybe
with Lightning Attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then maybe Zor Maxim throws you.
So how much damage? So essentially you're saying that Terracon can do 4 damage just by like punching.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of damage.
Yes. Or even cooler. So if we're like here, right? I don't know, something. We can teleport that guy's punch, throw.
So the second attack is because of Lightning Attack.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be a brawl attack?
No. You get a free brawl attack. It's exactly like his gun. You get a free brawl attack anytime during your attack phase.
So it can be at the beginning or at the end,
in the middle, whatever.
Okay.
You could throw or whatever, like you body slam, brawl, whatever.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff. Any combination.
Yeah.
You can.
So Terracon is basically going to be very in your face.
Yeah. If you're like this, right, and you have a screen, I can brawl, step, throw.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Super useful.
Yeah.
Just a really phenomenal rule.
Yeah.
Terrasaur units are...
Oh, you forgot to talk about Explosion.
Oh, well, it explodes. So it's
well, you were excited for that.
Yeah, it's like Chain Reaction, but it takes cover into effect. And that's because Explosion is always on a gun, and Chain Reaction is always on a fist.
I did not know that.
Yep. Chain Reaction is on Gorgodner.
Oh, okay.
His punch is Chain Reaction.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Cool.
It's a good rule. It's okay on Terracon. I'm not sure once he gets into Hyper you want to be exploding. But if you punch a guy and then explode, or explode then punch, see, that can allow you to get the P dice you need.
Yeah.
To
then do a power attack. Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, sure. If you shoot punch a building.
Mm-hmm.
That's potentially like 4 P dice.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Plus, like, you could explode on like multiple. If you hit like 3 things, that's like 5 P dice, which is really good.
Yeah.
So we have our Terrasaur units. I think they're aggressively okay. The Brontox is speed 4, defense 4, has a 1-star 1 brawl, and is cost 2. It has 2 rules. It has action nesting, which is if it is on a PowerPoint, you can spend an action die to plop a dude down. That is a Terrasaur. It has to be a Terrasaur unit. And then it can't move for that turn, so it's stuck there. And then it has dig in like the crawler. So even if this building wasn't here, it would get
covered. That's interesting.
I wish it was immune to SWAT.
Yeah.
If it was immune to SWAT.
I think that would make it better. I think I kind of like the idea of nesting. It's just the fact that you can't move the unit afterwards. It has to be adjacent.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the only way that's really going to be useful is if you
use them to like secure an extra building.
Use them to secure an extra building. And does that count only on PowerPoints, or is it
only PowerPoints and negative zones?
Okay, so if you were securing this, you wouldn't be able
to.
I mean, you wouldn't really need to anyway, but
so I don't really like that guy, but I'm sure you'll be able to find a use for him. Next up is Carnodon and Elite Carnodons. They are both speed 4, defense 3. They're both 2-star 2 attackers, but grunts cost 1 and elites cost 2. The grunts don't have any rules, and the elites have flank and commander. So 3 of them together, if you have 2 grunts and elite, will roll 8. Dice.
It's so weird to me that the elite has the same amount of dice as the...
It's because it has flank, but I think it could have been 3. They don't have power gorge like chompers, right? So I don't think it was that scary to give them 3rd B die.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true.
What are you gonna do? They're good brawlers, obviously.
Yeah.
That's all they can do.
I mean, it seems like they're pretty slow, I think, is the only issue.
Yeah, they are slow.
Although, in conjunction with the Terracon rule,
yep,
that helps a little bit.
Yeah, so they can get up to, like, 3 of them can get, like, 11 B dice if Terracon is in hyper form, which is cool. And then you have flank.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Raptix and Raptix Elite. These guys are fast. They're both speed 6. They're both defense 2. They have a 1-star 1 on the grunt brawl and a 1-star 2 brawl on the elite. The grunts are cost 1 and the elites are cost 2. These guys all have the same rules of anti-air and high mobility, and then the elite picks up commander.
Yeah, and anti-air gives you an extra B die when you're brawling with units with flight.
Yeah. It would also affect guns, but they don't have guns. Anti-air is just like a flat rule you get on your card.
Could you imagine if dinosaurs had guns?
Funny you mentioned it, because we have a dinosaur gun coming up.
Oh, wow.
I think these guys are good, actually. I think they're slightly better than the Shinobis. They're faster than the Shinobis.
But they are a lower defense,
They are 1 lower defense. But they also roll more B dice against flying units, which is cool. Once Martians come out, you may see more flying units running around.
Yeah.
These guys are really good at taking out G-tanks that come into your area. Or not G-tanks, sorry, strike fighters. And, of course, any Martian units.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, I don't know, Planet Eaters don't have, like, flying units except for Explodahawks, really.
Yeah. Cthulhu only has the squicks.
Cthulhu only has squicks, and those aren't as useful.
Yeah.
So I feel like, depending on the matchup, I mean, obviously they're going to be much more useful against Martian units because they're all flying.
Yeah.
Rather than Cthulhu or Planet Eaters.
Yeah. That's just kind of the nature of an anti-air like unit like that. They're just pegged in to that corner. And if they can find their niche, that's good, obviously, right? But we'll have to see how the meta shakes out. And then the unit I am most excited for is the Spikadon. So this guy is speed 4, defense 3. He has a 1-star 0 brawl. Wow. And a 2-star 2 range 4 blast. He is cost 2. His only rule is explosion. So this is a phenomenal addition to protectors, picking up that additional boost or additional boost. 2-star 2 is a phenomenal stat line for a gun.
Yeah.
Range 4 is also phenomenal. It goes up to range 5 with the radar, right?
Yeah.
Range 4 or move 4 is serviceable.
Yeah, and I mean again with Terracon's rule, it can increase. Plus, if you have the industrial complex, that'll also increase speed. Mm-hmm. So I think, I mean, even though these units generally seem pretty slow, except for the Raptix, I think you can definitely work with them to get them across the board pretty easily.
So, like, if I have the spot secured, right?
Yeah.
I can spawn him, bump him, and then if I have Terracon, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I may not even have to bump. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can shoot 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's really good.
So even if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I shoot 5, if I have the radar right, I can like spawn another thing, and then I can combine into them.
Yeah.
So that gives me...
Yeah. That'll be really useful for dealing with the spot.
Yeah. I can potentially put something like this in. I can put up to this many white dice in if I don't spawn any other elites. Get out of there. So then that would kill both of them. Turn off the building, which is really cool. It's a lot of white dice to do it. But I get to pick up 2 P dice.
Yeah.
Which is sweet. I like P dice. But it'll be really good when you like make your offensive front here, right? Mm-hmm. And you kill this guy, and like, all right, I'll have to respawn. Or if you kill one of these, I can just rebuild it. Explosion. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for Martians. Mm-hmm. They're my favorite.
I think that is everything. This is going to get split up into 2 YouTube videos. So we are going to have 1 video of the game and 1 video of this chat. So thank you, everyone, for watching.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yep. I know a lot of you guys are probably at War Machine Weekend, all that stuff. I hope you're having a good time, drinking responsibly and all that stuff. But enjoy the con, enjoy the weekend, and get ready for buildings next week because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and tune in tomorrow. We're going to be streaming again.
Yeah. And
we're going to be testing out some of our building ideas.
Tomorrow is Saturday, the 3rd or something. So.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, it's too late. You missed it.
Yep, sorry.
But you can catch us again later.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.